All right. So, all right, I'm gonna get started here. I want to welcome everybody that's here. Donna and Amorak's dad. Hi. My name is Marty Ackett, and I'm the adult programming coordinator for Peter White Public Library. And I'm here tonight on one of my favorite nights of every month, which is authors reading virtually. And I'm here to introduce two poets who, and I'm not kidding when I say this, whose work seems to get better and better. Each time I read a new poem, a new book from them, they just get better and better. And tonight they're here to read from a book that they've just written together. Very exciting. Amorak Huey and W. Todd Kaneko. But first, I want to talk a little bit about Guns N' Roses. So Slash, the guitarist from Guns N' Roses, had this to say about hearing Axl Rose and jamming with him for the first time. Now, I'm going to edit this a little bit. So instead of saying the word that he uses, I'm going to use the word fudge. Okay, so here we go. He said this: the first time was on a cassette brought over to my house. There was all this noise, and then there's this really intense high voice over the top of it. My first impression was that it was very soulful. It had a bluesy melodic thing to it, which was rare for that type of voice. You didn't often hear somebody hold that melody together so naturally. Then I went to see him play one time. I didn't actually realize I was going to see the same person that was on that cassette. They were fudging hardcore on stage. Izzy was doing knee slides and Axl was bashing down. It was cool, like fudge. The first time that we jammed together was at a rehearsal place in Hollywood, and it was intense. We started working together at that point. We did some shows, and it was always very unpredictable and wild, like, okay, let's see what happens, unquote. If you're a child of the late 80s or 90s, especially a boy child of the 80s and 90s, I think, you probably grew up listening to Guns N' Roses, and you also probably know a little bit or a lot about the very rocky relationship among its band members. There was just as much screaming drama off stage as there was on stage. And as Amorak and Todd write in their poem, Slash in Hell, here's a quote: Slash has walked barefoot here where ground gives way to blood-encrusted knives, shards of songs caught in throats of boys too eager to be men, women fearing what waits for girls. Happiness is a kind of violence, violence a perfect guitar string. Gorgeous scars mark your body long before you encounter sin, unquote. Slash and Axl Rose made music that defined, for better or worse, depending on your point of view, a generation of hard rock. It was a collaboration where each artist made the other better, louder, more intense. And I think you're going to hear that tonight too when Amorak and Todd start reading from their new chapbook, Slash Slash. Each of them as poets has his own voice and obsessions, but when they start jamming together, it's like those gorgeous scars that mark your body long before you encounter sin. Just a little bit about Amorak here. Amorak Huey's fourth book of poems, Dad Jokes from Late in the Patriarchy, from Sundress Publication, was published in 2021. And he's the co-author with Todd here of the textbook Poetry, A Writer's Guide and Anthology, and the chapbook Slash Slash. Huey teaches writing at Grand Valley State University, and his previous books are, and he has the best titles for books, I tell you, are Boombox from Sundress in 2019, Seducing the Asparagus Queen from Cloudbank, and Ha 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 Thump from Sundress, as well as two other chapbooks. And his work has appeared in the Best American Poetry, American Poetry Review, Columbia Review, the Southern Review, and the Academy of American Poets Poem a Day, and many other print and online journals. And Todd here is the author of This Is How the Bone Sings. And if you were lucky enough to hear him read from that earlier this year for Peter White in February, you know what a great book that is. And also The Dead Wrestler Elegies, the second edition, which is going to be forthcoming, hopefully, soon. as if his twins cooperate. And he's also the co-author, as I said, with Amorak here, of Poetry, A Writer's Guide to an Anthology, and Slash Slash, which was the winner of the 2020 Diode Editions chapbook contest. And his poems and essays and stories can be seen in Poetry, Alaskan Quarterly Review, The Normal School, Hobart, Barrel House, Blackbird, The Rumpus, and many other journals and anthologies. He's a Kundeman Fellow. He is currently an associate professor in the writing department at Grand Valley State University and lives with his family in Grand Rapids, Michigan. So now please join me in welcoming to the Peter White stage the rock stars of tonight, Amorak Huey and W. Todd Kaneko.
Thank you so much, Marty, for inviting us out to do this reading. You know, Amorak and I live pretty close to each other. Like he can walk to my house, I can walk to his. We don't do that very often because, you know, we're in a pandemic. But, you know, we wrote this book together, and this might be like, you know, we don't get really the opportunity to do readings in tandem very often. So I think this is the second one maybe that we've ever done. So we're gonna, you know, hopefully we're gonna play around a little bit tonight. I'm gonna read a few poems, and then we're gonna read together from Slash Slash Slash, the chapbook that we wrote together. And then Amorak's gonna finish off with some poems of his own. So we're gonna do our best to collaborate on this reading to kind of, you know, celebrate this book that we collaborated on writing together. And, you know, ideally we'll have some time for questions at the end. So I'm going to read you, I'm going to start us off with just some poems, some rock poems. I read from This Is How the Bone Sings last time I was, you know, was invited to Peter White. So here's some, I don't know, maybe they're like outtakes, maybe they're like B-sides. I don't know. Some of them, I'm going to read a few poems. So one of the things that, one of the ways that this book came together is I was writing these Guns N' Roses poems, and Amorak was writing Guns N' Roses poems too. And one day he just like says to me, he says, you know, you're writing those poems, I'm writing these poems, we should just write them together. And I was like, okay, sweet. Sounds great. So this is a poem. These are some Guns N' Roses poems that didn't make it into the chapbook because, well, they weren't collaboratively written. And they weren't really part of the project. So they didn't fit the book anyways. So this is just called Paradise City. And there's an epigraph. And it's from the song Paradise City by Guns N' Roses. And the epigraph is just, oh, won't you please take me home? Paradise City. Don't worry about words. Someone else will make them up as you strum in the back of a van speeding down I-5 south toward Los Angeles. Worry about that cigarette dangling like a suicide from your lips, about your drunken roll and swerve on a dark highway. Your guitar is the dregs of summer, breezing dusky through a screen door, the aroma of meatloaf on wet Wednesday nights. And don't worry about gas money, about that empty beer bottle nestled between your legs. Someone will crack you a new one before Fresno County because your guitar is the rattle of cicadas. The leaves blush before tumbling heavy lawnward. Outside, a siren calls to its emergency, a car horn to its freeway fist fight near Bakersfield, a ragged arpeggio to a half-remembered spread of freckles across a girl's face in Fort Wayne or Kalamazoo. Don't worry about the words. Everyone will sing along with the radio one day on that perpetual drive back towards all those places we come from. Your guitar is all we need. A dirt clod fight, a corn maze, the eternal color of grass. This is another poem. I'm just gonna read a few, I think 3 here. This is a poem that, hey, where'd it go? This is a poem about a poem for Randy Rhodes. It's another guitar player, different guitar player. This is a elegy for the electric guitar. Randy Rhodes is known, if you don't know who Randy Rhodes is, he's a hugely influential metal guitar player. a great number of those great metal guitar players of the 80s would cite Randy Rhodes as one of their major influences. He played for Quiet Riot before they got signed to their major label, and then was really famous for playing with Ozzy Osbourne for I think those first two records, Blizzard of Oz and Diary of a Madman. And he played on Speak of the Devil too, which is that live album. Yeah, I'm an Ozzy fan. Sue me. Elegy for the Electric Guitar for Randy Rhodes. It's dark in 1982, and Ozzy Osbourne bites the head off of a bat and an airplane falls out of the sky. The gravestones are not heavy enough this night, not black enough for the suburbs. Here's an old house in Michigan, a boy trying to play Crazy Train for the first time on a swap meet guitar with gangling fingers, the devil's buzz and quiver twanging against the quiet edge of every room. Afterwards, he lies awake in bed, hears a scrape of wings in the attic and imagines it's an angel or a mouse flinging itself at the moon. It's a guitar player, watching the ground approach the window from his seat, his best moments still reverberating on cassette tapes through car radios. And the Prince of Darkness cries for all of us, "You can't kill rock and roll." And out there in the ether, a guitar player has nothing in his hands but light. This is an old poem, man. I wrote this poem a long time ago and then never sent it out because it's weird. But then it recently just got picked up, and so I'm excited. This is a contrapuntal poem that is, it's in 2 columns, right? And each column is its own poem. We have a contrapuntal one in slash too. I think it's like got 3 columns, maybe 4. It's ridiculous. So I'm going to read this. I'm going to read this. I'm going to read one column. I'm going to read the second column, and then I'll read both columns together. Right. This is called. This is after Danzig. This is called Mother. If you want to discover where torment lives in the body, if you want to live in a grove of suicidal pines, if you want to bang your head against a drunken hand, if you want to lose yourself to the promise of blood, if you want to quicken into the wine, if you want me to follow you through harvests of blight, if you want to be found skeletal behind the wall of sleep, tell your children nothing. How a woman knows you can always hide yourself from her. You only survive between this first kiss and the rest of winter. Remember that everyone gets knocked down for telling the truth, so say nothing, like horses to the glue, like bourbon after the saloon closes. Your children already know how this world upends dark silence for grief. Say my name into a flower, and I will bloom to remind them who you are. And don't be swayed by your children disappearing as they cut themselves off from the world, if they don't remember where you went. Tell your children nothing if you want to discover how a woman knows where torment lives in the body, how you can always hide yourself from her. You only survive if you want to live in between this first kiss and a grove of suicidal pines the rest of winter. Remember that if you want to bang your head, everyone gets knocked down against a drunken hand for telling the truth. So say nothing if you want to lose yourself, like horses to the glue, like bourbon to the promise of blood after the saloon closes. Your children already know, if you want to quicken, how this world upends into the wine dark silence for grief. Say my name if you want me to follow you into a flower, and I will bloom through harvests of blight to remind them who you are. Don't be swayed if you want to be found by your children disappearing skeletal behind the wall of sleep as they cut themselves off from the world if they don't remember where you went. I'll turn this over to Amorak, who's going to start our / reading.
Yeah, so that was great, Todd. Thank you for those rockin' poems. So this book, we actually pronounce all 3 slashes when we say the title of the chapbook ///. It's got 3 sections in it. They're titled // and then there's an epilogue. And the first and third sections are poems about /, and then the middle section, which is the one with the the punctuation mark as the title, are poems about Axel and Slash. And so Todd and I are going to alternate tonight, and I'm going to read some Slash poems, and then he's going to read some Axel poems in between, and then I'll end by reading the epilogue poem, which is kind of both Slash and Axel. And the poems in the first section of the book, they're not real, but they're more. The book gets increasingly weird and strange and out there as it proceeds. So I'm going to start with the first poem in the book, which is, in terms of content, more closely used to like Slash's life, but I think it also begins to hint at where the book is going to go and how out there we're going to take it by the end. This poem is called "A Guitar Player is Born." Led Zeppelin's "Whole Lot of Love" howls on a rickety record player, each note a sky on the verge of collapse. We call this lightning. It is summer in London / Los Angeles / all over the planet. Boys play broomsticks along with the radio. Girls grind hips against tennis rackets, anything that looks like a guitar. They will grow up to be outlaws / architects / whiskey bottles / or not. Rock and roll is the prayer that wakes the neighbors / terror that starts as carnage and ends as desire / celebrating / destroying all that is holy / in the name of all / that is holy. In the maternity ward, a mother / everyone holds her baby to her breast / heartbeat / wonders what to call her child. It doesn't matter, the father / universe whispers. He will name himself / so we don't have to.
I think one of the things about this book that I like is that it's so self-indulgent. Like, we just pronounce all the slashes. Like, there's this thing right now where people, write a prose poem and they just put a bunch of slashes in it, right? Or a lineated poem, you put some slashes in, so you have these different layers of lineation, right? And so we just like do it. We just pronounce all the slashes because I think it just makes me laugh, kind of, right? So one of the things that this book is, we were trying to figure out how to make the book work, and we decided that it's kind of like a love book, a bunch of love poems, but only one person's really in love. So this one is called Axel Writes // and slash fiction is, if you don't know, it's fan fiction where you write, erotic episode between, other people's fictional characters. Axel writes // The problem with fiction is how easy it is to get what I want. The problem with hunger is hunger. Your hat reminds me of that warm / safe place. Your fingers remind me of the chasm between desire and talent. Your arms remind me of my arms. Let us pray for the thunder, for the rain. Let nothing quietly pass us by. Step inside the bruise of my voice and let us make music. And every solo I write is for you. But when the ending comes, you'll be violent. If you ever hear me sing the word friend, no, it's a lie.
This is another poem that draws from Slash's real life biography. If he hadn't been a guitar player, he might have been a professional BMX bicyclist. He was very accomplished as a bicyclist, a BMX rider when he was a kid. And so this poem is called Slash on a Bicycle, and there are a lot of slashes in here. So, late 1970s America, divorce is the state bird of California, boredom is the national pastime, no worse time to be a boy, no better, no rules, no reason to come home, I can get away with anything, this ache in my thighs and this grinding chain are the origin of pose, swagger, supernova. music's first / only truth, stop moving and die. Spokes snap / metal warps / the frame cannot hold / I will always know the cost of beer and smokes / I will remember this switchfoot and tail whip beneath me. Look up. Heaven is made of flint and butane / quasar and whiskey burn / the universe sparking from my fingers / not my mother's house in Los Angeles / so much closer to Earth than Mars / so much farther from Mars than my father's house / than all those skate parks / empty swimming pools full of all the speed I can summon. The only world that counts still rumbles beneath my feet / one day the planet will disappear beneath my body / I hit the lip of the bowl / lift off / into a vast and smoggy sky.
We had an extra audience member here for just like a little bit. My son crept into the room behind us. And then like I think he was like, poetry. And then he like ran away. So yeah. Bye, Leo. Axel plays Monopoly with Slash. Something to do with our hands between songs. That's all. You think I'm easy to beat, but you're playing a different game. You mistake my focus on Boardwalk and Park Place for a willingness to trade away my life one color at a time. I'm no different than anyone else. You say sometimes a man has to make the most of wherever he lands, but I don't give a damn about your math. What's the joy in collecting $8 in rent? Chasing the $2,000 hit is the only way to play. It's like starting a song with the chorus, popping wheelies the first time you get on a bike, drinking the whole bottle before the concert starts. Everyone wants to be king of Atlantic goddamn city, but someone has to keep playing when the king loses his head and storms off the stage mid-song. And it's good that you know your place. Someone's the car, someone's the dog, someone's the wheelbarrow. Here, roll the dice. The money's too flimsy. The game is not remotely plausible, but that's the charm. Everyone knows all along.
Boys, watch Slash. We are 15 and have no idea what our bodies can do. We play guitar in the garage. We are becoming new animals. We remove shirts, pull our hats low over our eyes, sharpie the mark of the beast onto one another's flesh. We are young lions bellowing into a sleeping neighborhood, hoping for someone to shout back in anger /love / we don't know the difference. We are tomcats on the prowl. We need an adult to buy us beer. His name is Slash, and his guitar sounds like the devil's name, howled backwards at midnight on MTV. Sounds like a lover's voice whispering our own reckless names. Our chests grow slick with sweat. His name is Slash, and he is everything.
Axel encourages Slash to audition for Les Mis. We did this reading. To celebrate all the chapbooks for the Diode thing, right? And in the middle of their poems, I remember Tyler Mills was reading from Low Budget Movie, and she started laughing in the middle of her poems. She's like, "I'm sorry, this never happens," and I'm struggling not to laugh in the middle of some of these poems because they're fun and kind of dumb. Axel encourages Slash to audition for Les Mis. Who knows better? Slash, that misery is born in the sludge at the bottom of a bottle. Slash, in the clot on the tip of an abandoned needle. Slash, in the friction between wheel and track. Who knows better? Slash, that life is one mistaken / identity after another. Slash, who knows better that you can't sing away your obsessions. Slash, the grass is just as dead on the other side of the freeway. Slash, beyond the broken glass. Slash, the cigarette butts and shredded condoms. Even an ocean can't unbreak a heart. can't stitch back together a flag, slash, can't rewrite the ending of an unhappy marriage. You will not, slash, get this part, slash, everyone can grow all they want about revolution, slash, love stories, slash, extreme close-ups and dramatic death, slash, if they only could know how it feels when you hold sound in your hands, slash, how I can spend a lifetime chasing notes that disappear almost before you make them.
We definitely did not plan the read these out loud part when we were putting all those slashes in these poems. For sure.
I kind of love it though. It's like suddenly like he's like, you know, one of
Yeah.
the things we discovered in this book is that like Axel loves Slash. And suddenly in that poem, it's just like he's just saying his name over and over. Hey, Slash. Something, Slash, something, Slash, I'm hungry, Slash.
Yeah.
It's the effect is like, I don't know that I ever thought that would work that way, but it's kind of fun.
Right. I agree. And it's also, I mean, these poems are, like you said, they're some of them are dumb. And the one that I'm about to read is like dumb and awesome. And it's, and I say that because when we collaborate on these poems, none of them are mine or Todd's anymore. They belong to both of us, but definitely some of them had like, you know, I remember, Todd started this poem. And the one that I'm about to read was definitely one that Todd wrote the initial skeleton of this poem. And I don't think it's changed all that much since then. But in the third part of this book, the second slash section, it gets increasingly removed from reality. And this one, it takes place in the Star Wars universe. So this is Slash at Mos Eisley Cantina. Slash kicks it with a hot Twi'lek, his instrument in its case under the seat, because later tonight he's going to show those abalone heads how to jam the whole universe into a single manic riff. At the bar, that scruffy nerf herder and his old man cleave a walrus man's carcass with a quick stroke of moon sliver, Tatooine lightning, and mojo. When the band starts back up, Slash knocks back his drink, thinks about the many things he can do with a guitar string. Make a man weep into the crook of his arm, remove a woman's dress, fill a stadium with starlit pain. A hive of scum and villainy, the old man calls this place, smacking of drugs, booze, green blood. Out in the desert, a Tuscan raider stands naked and howls for sparrows. Beyond that, a planet faces oblivion. Meteors descend in flocks, flowers blooming like the avalanche for gravity, the stars of a death wish. Slash knows all about the force driving the universe. He pulls his alien girl close and bends a couple of notes down the inside of her arm. He strokes her brain tail, sings in her ear. I know it's only rock and roll, but I like it.
Here's a liner note. This poem originally, I think, Slash reads Proust on the transatlantic flight. Isn't that right?
It is. Yeah, it was about Slash. Switched to Axel.
We changed it, right? Yeah. Axel reads Proust on a transatlantic flight. Slash. See, this poem, it starts with a punctuation. Slash. There's no line between sea, sky, slash. No horizon between what we are, what we become, between finger and string, body and song, book and reader. Slash, on the aisle you sleep, dreaming, possibly of sunglasses or hats or small pills. And though this tour stretches ahead as evidence that speaking the same language isn't the only route to understanding, slash, though we face another fugitive year of trying, our last verse has been written, our memories have been mapped, slash, out the off-white sky blurs against off-white ocean, as if someone has rendered the day with a single color of paint. Slash, what appears to be the bottom is not the bottom. Slash, there's always somewhere deeper, colder, saltier. Slash, perhaps your name is not the accident you say it is. Slash, perhaps all borders are fleeting, all parting inevitable. / the plane angles north toward distant ice, taking advantage of a wind we cannot see /
Yeah, reading the slashes out loud changes the whole poem, doesn't it? I love it. And so, like, yeah, so this is the last poem in the book. It's an epilogue, and it's the two sections that are centered on slash are delineated poems. The Axel poems are prose poems, and then this one is the epilogue is also a prose poem. And what I like about the title of this poem is that buried in the title of the poem is the title of this whole book. The poem is called Axel Writes a Love Letter to Slash Writes a Love Letter to Axel. Is it body or engine that makes a muscle car sing? Is it finger or string that forges music into metal? Throat or tongue that wrestles air into ballad? If it's you, it was always you. If it's me, we'll find out when a new sun torches the pale sky above this desert we've drained, when wildfires consume what's left of this nation we built. Barbed wire around the mirror doesn't change what's looking back. It's like that movie where the good guy wears the bad guy's face until eventually they forget which one is good and which is bad. At some point, we should admit we were better together, or at least I was better. We traveled the galaxies, frolicked with angels, drank from the forbidden cup, danced with the queen. We transcended time until we didn't. All from such humble origins. There's a story I tell people about when we met. You had a dog then, something big, mean. I don't remember its name, but you called it Shithead and gave it whiskey from your bottle. You would forget to walk it or wake up too late, so your apartment reeked of piss. But no one wanted to be over there anyway, because that dog was always barking and snarling. It was a weird relationship. No one could tell if you even liked the thing. Then it died. It was a dog. Dogs die. It's how the world works, even for the goddamn king. We outlive what we love unless it outlives us. Together, we buried that stupid mutt in a box overflowing with roses. You wept. You didn't know I was watching. I wept. And then down at the bottom of the page, there's the slash. Because of course there is. I don't know. What I like about that poem is that even though we wrote this poem together, I don't know whose voice it's in, Slash or Axel. I mean, it's both. And I like that I don't know, that I don't, and I guess Todd would say the same thing. We wrote this poem and it wasn't really intended to be either. It was literally intended to be both. And so in some ways it's a poem about collaboration, although I like to think Todd and I have a less destructive relationship than Slash and Axel. Yeah. So I wanted to end by reading a few poems from my new book, which came out earlier this summer, called Dad Jokes from Late in the Patriarchy. It's a poem, and I think it's connected to a lot of the same things I was thinking about when I was writing the Slash poems with Todd, which is masculinity and identity, and thinking about how we become who we are. And so I'm just going to read 4 poems from it. And the first one is the first poem in the book. It's called A Primer. My complaint about life is it happens only in order. A thesis of sorts, a kind of argument that might seem out of place here. But I have seen a man ride his bicycle into Beltline traffic and die. I have seen my grandmother coughing blood after a lifetime of menthols. I have seen the closed casket of a friend who asked the wrong person for a ride home after a long shift. The end of a story is the shape of a hole in the fence the story runs through on its way to the end. Spielberg filmed E.T. in chronological order so his young cast could deliver an authentic emotional performance. It helped them bond with the alien in the natural course of the narrative, leading to the weepy climax he sought. This anecdote suggests something about art, youth, loss, something about believability, or the cruelty of a man who knows what he wants. one of the things that I'm doing in this poem is, in this book, this collection, these poems, I'm exploring where I got my ideas about how to be a dad. And this poem is about that thing. And it's called Captain Picard Teaches My Son to Throw a Football. Picard is talking about visualization. Imagine the ball leaving your fingers, he says. Imagine spin, trajectory, destination, then make it so. My son rolls his eyes. He just wants to throw. Kirk was a way better captain, he says. My son values deed over word. My son believes in kicking problems in the face. Picard is unbothered, tireless. His example toss transcribes a perfect helix. Everything he says contains multiple layers of wisdom. He describes the route he will run, tells my son to count to 4 before firing to the outside shoulder. Down, set, engage, he says. My son's throw hits Picard in the back of the head. The spiral, the bald spot, the ball bouncing away. The lesson proceeds. And then this next poem it's kind of the title poem. It's not exactly the title poem, but the closest thing to a title poem that I have in here. And it's called Dad Jokes. Dad jokes. You're rolling your eyes already. Nice to meet you, rolling your eyes already. I'm Dad. Did you hear what the 0 said to the 8? Nice belt. And also, I'm going to need to see your passport. If you're American in the living room and European in the bathroom, what are you in the airport holding cell? Don't worry, I've got like a million of these. You seem to have an allergic reaction on your skin, but let's not make any rash decisions. Healthcare is complicated. What did the fish say when it swam into a wall? What do you call an immigrant with no eyes? What do you call someone threatening to blow up Jewish daycares? Why do I take peanut butter on my morning commute? I think you know. Sandwich walks into a bar. Bartender says, sorry, we don't make gay wedding cakes here. Secretary of Education walks into a school. Bartender says, sorry, we're so poor. Chicago walks into America. Bartender says, look at all these Black people killing each other. Electoral College walks into November. Bartender says, thank you for saving us from Chicago. I'm starting to dislike this bartender. You might think this isn't funny. I get it. I didn't like the beard either until it grew on me. At some point, I came to understand my job was to make the world more bearable for my children. It's possible I was wrong, and anyway, I don't think I'm very good at it. You pick your battles, you pick your nose, but you can't pick yourself up off the ground in a cloud of tear gas. No one's laughing. I'm not laughing. I've broken my arm in several places. Now I'm thinking it would be best not to go to those places anymore. And yeah, I'll end with another, maybe not so cheery one. Again, a poem about, I don't know, being a parent, and like one of the things that I've learned about being a parent and then writing poems about being a parent is that you're constantly hyper aware of mortality, your own mortality and your kids' mortality. It never moves away from your consciousness. And this poem is called American Prayer. Some parents on Facebook this morning are wondering whether it's truly PJ Day at the elementary school. Trust but verify and all that, which is something a president once said about international diplomacy, or maybe the motto of a newspaper, I forget. But if your mother says she loves you, check it out, right? What happens if our children wind up alone in their Hogwarts robes, their Stegosaurus fleeces and sloth slippers, classmates clad in the usual jeans, t-shirts, sweaters and soccer jerseys, track pants, and armor-plated backpacks? Perhaps a valuable lesson in how we are ultimately on our own, in the limits of what we can prepare for. in how we know when things have gone disastrously awry. We have children and hope for the best, my God, but that's not always what we get. Let them wear pajamas, someone's father posts. What's the worst? Though he doesn't mean it. We know the answer. Spring is weeks away, but it's cold, and the sidewalks are winter slick, half melted, refrozen, dangerous. Bundle up, we beg, and our children tumble into the sky of a new day, ceramic, shatterproof, and dressed for dreaming. Yeah, thank you again, Peter, for having us. This was super fun. Thank you for Todd for being my collaborator and for reading with me.
And thanks for everybody for coming out tonight. Like, I don't know where y'all are, but here in Michigan, it's a beautiful summer night, and
Yeah, it's
the
like
internet's not
80.
as sunny.
It's 85 degrees in Marquette, which it never gets to be 85 degrees in Marquette. When you're that close to Lake Superior, you just don't expect that. So,
Yeah.
So this was really, I don't know if you were keeping track of the chat, but there were some really nice comments here from Donna. She loved your use of lyrics, and Cindy loved Slash and Mos Eisley. So, does anybody have any questions or comments that they want to for Todd or Amorak? Oh, I think Donna does.
Such a good reading. Did you guys, when you sent the book out for publication, had you determined that you were going to read the slashes? I'm just curious. Or is that something that has come up now that it's a thing in the world and you're reading from it?
I mean, I think we always knew that. I mean, I think it came from the start with the title, which has been / for a long time. And we always knew that we were going to pronounce all three in the title. And so I think we didn't really talk about how we were going to read the poems, but I definitely add something to the experience for sure. Mm-hmm. Because then it takes full advantage of the double meaning of the word.
I think it's for consistency, right? I mean, if we're gonna do it, I mean, we do it in the title because I don't know why we do it in the title / I think it's kind of self-indulgent. I think it kind of makes people smile. Just the three words in a row / and so, and there's also something kind of violent about that, right? Just the slash. Mm-hmm. Just gonna read all the slashes, right? So for consistency's sake, I just feel like, well, you read the slashes because that's just sort of the rule we set, right? It's sort of like, it's kind of like that annoying thing in a poem where you have a poem full of ampersands and then there's one and in there and you're like, well, why didn't you get that and out, right? You're breaking this rule that it seems so unnecessary. And so like, I think it's like when you write a poem, you set that rule out and you say, well, the slashes are pronounced, and once you do it, you're like, well, that changes things, right? And so I think, yeah, I can definitely say that when we started out, we weren't thinking we're not thinking that we were gonna read the slashes, but at the beginning of that first poem, A Guitar Player Is Born, it's the line is, his name is Slash, right? And so the slash is actually meant to be read there. And so, for me, once we do that, suddenly, all those slashes now have to have that double function. Otherwise, the gimmick is kind of, we're half-assing it at that point, right?
Yeah, I think it started as like just sort of like, oh, let's play. We're with slash, but then like, oh, it became sort of integral to the meaning of the poems and of the collection, because the slash is both, as a punctuation mark, it's both a divider and a connector. Like / means, like it's I don't know, like it's hot / cold. It's both, but it also is a separator between those two words, and like that's what we're writing about with Slash and Axel. That angle of the book is about connection, but also separation. And there's something between them. There's a barrier. right? And that the punctuation mark actually makes that barrier physical on the page. And so it started as just a way of being playful, which is, I mean, what a great lesson for writing poems. Start by playing, see what you come up with, and then suddenly go with it. Follow that meaning that you've created.
Yeah. Yeah, when I mean, I've read the book a couple times. I've never, in my mind, as I'm reading it, said the slash. I mean, never. But when you were reading it, it also struck me listening to it that it's almost like musical notation as well. As you're listening to it, so it becomes sort of like almost like a bass or a beat in the lines when you're reading them, which is really cool. So. All right. Does anybody have any other comments? I have one question. You use some lines from lyrics. Did you have to like contact them and ask them to use those? Oh, okay. That's one of those things that we don't say anything. Okay.
They're also, I think they're not, I mean, I have to look and check, but I feel like they're not like verbatim, right? We might have changed some syntax here and there.
Okay.
Yeah, I know it's only rock and roll, but I like it.
That's totally the stuff.
That one's pretty direct.
Yeah.
But when we decided we were sending it out, we wondered, and it sort of depends on who your publisher is going to be, right? We wondered what the publisher would say, and Dio didn't care. They didn't bring it up at all. We weren't about to bring it up because it's forgiveness, permission sort of thing. And definitely there's no way Guns N' Roses is ever giving us permission to use those lyrics, or whoever owns their catalog. And so and like Donna said, we're making no money off this chapbook. This is not, there's no finance, there's no money involved. So we just figured we'll just keep this off the radar a little bit. Although, I mean, I'd be happy for Slash or Axel to read this book.
Yeah, I just have heard horror stories from people of trying to get permission for stuff like that and how much they want to charge. So I was just like really happy that you were using actual lyrics from the songs and that. So that was really cool.
I mean, that's what happened with right, Mr. West, right?
Sarah Blake's.
Yeah, Sarah Blake. I think like they tried to get permission and they didn't. So all those lyrics are blacked out, right, in that book. Which I think is a really cool affect, right?
Yeah.
I really like it because there's something like withheld. There's something private there. But it's, I think that they're all just lyrics from the songs. But that was something that we were thinking about with this book too. It's like, well, if we put lyrics in it, are we gonna black stuff out? I mean, so that became a consideration, I think, at some point where we were thinking, well, are we writing some weird kind of blackout poems? Are we going to play with like that sort of omission as a rhetorical sort of effect? And I think that we forgot about it because we just weren't really interested in it. But I do remember having that conversation, like kind of talking about lyrics permissions.
And I do think most of the GNR lyrics are paraphrased, or we kind of skirt around them just enough that I think we would probably have fair use. There's no cease and desist order coming.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions? All right. Paraphrased or in small chunks can't copyright warm, safe place.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
I mean, I'm sure they try. We don't want this in front of their lawyers, but I don't think there's much risk of that.
Well, I want to thank Todd and Amorak for doing this. It's been really wonderful. Like I said, I've been looking forward to this reading for ever since I got you both on board to do it. So because the chapbook is like one of my favorite books that I've read this year so far. So I love it. And when the Dead Wrestler elegies come out, we'll get you back, Todd, and Amorak, you're always welcome to come back to Peter White for sure.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you everybody for coming. This was really wonderful.
Thank you all. Have a
Yeah,
great
thank
night.
you. Yep.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.